everybody. Welcome to a rare recorded version of the post-match pulse. This is usually a live podcast, but we're going to do something a little bit different, coming off our very first international friendly against the Halifax Wanderers FC. I have got Dave Finlayson with me from Down the Pub podcast, and has certainly been following these Halifax Wanderers FC around here for a little bit. And we're going to go ahead and break down the friendly match, or the not so friendly match that we saw on Wednesday night. And we'll certainly also go over a little bit more in detail. So it's going to be like a combination of the post match pulse, and it's going to be a combination of the crossover. We're going to mix them all up together, and we're going to get to know a little bit about the Halifax Wanderers FC, and of course we'll go over the friendly last Wednesday night that saw the Hearts win 2-1 late in an Ollie Wright goal. And, Dave, lots to talk about that friendly, and we're certainly going to go ahead and kick that around here in a little bit. We're also going to talk a little bit about the Canadian Premier League, and certainly a little bit more about maybe some of the podcast landscape up there and our neighbors to the north in Canada, and just kind of get to know each other a little bit more. Dave, welcome to the podcast.
Sean, thank you so much for having me. I'm glad I was the at least second choice to make the move onto the podcast. So I seem to be coming off the bench in a lot of situations here.
Hey, going to be the perfect sub, right? High energy, run, all that fun stuff, right?
I can give you a strong 15 to 20 at the end of the match.
There you go. Your perfect sub, man. Your perfect sub. Just a little bit about the match. We certainly want to go ahead and dive right into it. I talked with, head coach Bobby Murphy. A little bit of he did do a podcast prior to. That's also on YouTube. Plug away, right? So that's called Coach's Corner. You can be anyone that's listening that is not aware. If you just go to YouTube and you search Derigo Union, you'll find that crossover that I'm talking about. You'll also find the post-match pulse that I'm talking about, and you'll find Coach's Corner, which is what I'm referring to when some of our Derigo Union members talked with Coach Bobby Murphy. He mentioned that he was going to dress some 23 players for this friendly. It was going to be a 100% right down the middle friendly. He joked that it's going to probably look like line changes at times going into this one, where you're just going to see like half a dozen people come off the field and another 6 come on. Everyone will get minutes. Truly friendly oriented going in terms of bringing players on the pitch and giving players that have been kind of on the fringe of the squad, and maybe not even so much even really in the squad, and try to give them some looks and try to give them some minutes, and his words, give them another chance to change my mind, right? And kind of see what they've got out there. And he did mention that some did show him a little something different, and some maybe not really, took full advantage of the opportunity. So, and it turned out to be a pretty good match. Just opening thoughts, kind of going into this thing, Dave. Kind of how did it hit you? How did you find out about it? And you're like, Portland, okay.
Yeah. Well, I've been to Portland several times. I'm a huge Patriots fan, so we tend to go down for a football game, the other football, every 2 or 3 years. So I know the area, and I've had a couple very productive nights out in Portland. So I can report back positively that our night lives, Halifax and Portland, are like that. So I think we could both have a great time together out in the evening. I was really excited to see all the players that went down. It really was a good mixture of the under 21 program, like the top players that look like they're coming through that program, and some of our first teamers that aren't coming back or aren't getting minutes, are coming back from injuries for whatever reason. So you had Jeremy Gagnon-Lapierre in their center mid, who's been a past starter for several teams in the CPL over the last few years and just not getting minutes due to the strength of our center midfield. Julian Dunn, who was playing at the back, is just a rock. He was the Canadian Young Player of the Year 4 years ago now, and he had a couple pretty bad injuries. So he's making his way back from, I believe, Achilles and looks like he's getting pretty close. He put in some tasty slide tackles during the match, and I
Yeah.
was really happy to see him. And Alphonse Jefferson is another favorite of the fans up here. Again, had a great run at the end of last year. Lost his place because we brought in a great center back, Thomas Meyer-Jaguar, from Pacific in the off season. So that's kind of taken his place, but he had a great run both at the back, and he played some center midfield. And then it was like those younger players, Camilo and Tavio, that we really haven't seen a lot of. Tavio, we've seen like 5 minutes in 2 years,
Okay.
and Camilo, again, he had a decent run towards the end of last year, but usually as a sub, he started one game. I think there's lots of talent there, and I think a lot of the fans up here were, hoping we'd see more of those guys this year.
Yeah.
So it was really exciting to see them both at the under the series we had with Wrexham over those 3 games and watch those guys be very productive. But then also at the game last night where Tavio was kind of up front, it looked like by himself for long stretches and held up quite well, I thought. Still a lot of work to do. I thought your defense was very strong, very fast, and so it was a good matchup for the guys.
Yeah, coming into it, I just not knowing what I don't know. I wasn't sure how they would actually match up, and again, I'm going to go back and talk about the coach's corner. The question did come up, how talking to how these two sides match up wise is it like League One? Is it like Halifax is more like Championship side? That sort of thing, right? It's like we were trying to kind of grasp on what that really looked like.
Yeah, and I think you saw like some of the experience and inexperience from some of the younger players really stood out in that match. I thought they did a great job of progressing the ball. The way Patrice and the club are really trying to integrate like a quick passing, lots of movement, lots of quick little tiny passes that you're like, there's no way they're getting out of that. Oh, they got out of that. It's amazing. But I found like the last, I'll say once they got just over half against you guys, like those passes were not coming off for them. I'd put a lot to your guys' solid defensive shape and the speed at which those guys were moving. I just thought there was very strong defense. It'd be interesting to see like full team versus full team. I think it'd be a very interesting matchup. I really liked a lot of your players. When that Kamara came on the right side, he was giving the lads a roasting. And there was a few players like that in the Premier League that they have a lot of trouble with. But like, I was just like, oh man, you can definitely see the crossover potential. Like if guys were looking to go back and forth into the 2 leagues. Of course, your like club captain came on late. I thought he was excellent. And then I didn't catch the name of the left winger that came on near the end, but he was again just like put the boys through the ringer. So I thought a full match versus full match would be an interesting proposition.
Yeah, I agree. Like you mentioned, about the hour mark is where a lot of our starters came on, the midfield and the front 4. Actually, I think if I'm trying to think back, I think we had our full starting 11 minus our left back because early on, number 3, Nathan Messer, he is our starting left back, and he was the only starter on the pitch when we first started the match.
Okay.
But when we at about the hour mark, when everybody basically came on, I think he did come off because I remember we had our backup right winger was playing left back for the last 35, 40 minutes or so of the match. But yeah, our who was he playing? He was playing right center back, Sega Koulibaly. He played in MLS actually for a little bit, and Coach Bobby Murphy even mentions we're going to enjoy him for as long as we can, but I know we're not going to have him for a long time because as soon as he starts putting down some good tape and everyone is looking at Sega healthy and 90-minute fit Sega Koulibaly, he's probably not going to be in USL League One anymore.
He was a strong looking lad. I was also really impressed with Alessandro Biello, who played in the center midfield for us. Was yelling at the ref a lot, felt like, but he does that in our games too. So he's on loan from one of the MLS clubs. So he's one of our league. You have to have mostly Canadian players. So you have 7 international roster spots, and you
Okay.
also have a minimum of 2,000 under 21 Canadian minutes that you have to hit.
Okay.
And so like we're almost there now for the year. We still got 11 games left. But Biello, he started one game and he's come in, I would say, in probably 75% of the games, last 15, 20. Can sub in the center midfield at the back if he has to, but he's like a really good prospect. I felt like he had a great game till about 65, and then it looked like he was blowing a little bit with that last bit. And when you guys brought in the subs, I was like, oh man, this is gonna be trouble for the
Yeah.
boys. And,
Yeah.
it felt to me as I was like Jeremy getting red carded aside that they were really using that as a conditioning match for a lot of those first team players, which
Sure.
I was happy to see. I mean, I'd love to see the young kids get more time too, but I felt in
Absolutely.
a one-off match like this was a great opportunity to build up the fitness and again against a very worthy opponent.
Yep. Yeah. No. Looking back on the whole thing, I thought it was a very enjoyable match, and I thought it got a little bit physical and heated, a little bit more than it needed to at the end. But I think
Mm.
Coach Bobby Murphy in the post-match press was kind of talking about, look, that's just competitors being competitors out there. It does. We keep telling them it's a friendly. We have the talk at the very beginning of it, but yet
Mm.
I want you to go out there and put in a good performance because these are paying people up there in the stands that are cheering you on, spending their hard-earned money to come in here and watch. So, they will be entertained and you are expected to put in a performance. But it's a friendly. Don't do anything stupid. So it's kind of the players get to go out there and go, okay, coach.
Yeah, am I flying into the? I mean, the one tackle that stood out was Jeremy's in the center midfield where he got the yellow card, and I'm like, if that wasn't a friendly, like that's probably a red.
Yeah.
Not a good tackle at
Yeah.
all. And it's the same thing for our players. Like those guys are trying to get minutes or like show themselves that they can get minutes leading up to playoffs. And so I know they're going to go hard, but I thought that was a little bit out of control. And I think Aiden is our backup keeper. He hasn't played any minutes for the first team yet. And I don't know if he didn't cover himself in glory with that red card, and it looked like straight descent, and he probably swore at the ref was what it looked like. Just mad at himself for taking a very bad angle on that cross
Yeah.
for the goal.
No,
So yeah,
yeah,
anyway.
it happens, and we certainly have our examples of exactly that early in the year. A lone player from Lexington, Azad Liadi, just kind of had a little bit of a moment like that himself early on in the open cut match and got himself red carded. And he was out obviously for the next open cut match and stuff. And that's soccer. It's competition. We kind of get out of our bodies every once in a while when something like that happens. But as long as it's not a continuous thing and it's kind of a one off, and it's like, all right, we're all human. These things
Yeah,
happen. We'll
yeah,
learn. We'll learn from it and move on. Not a big
yeah.
deal.
Well, and I thought it was really interesting too. Like again, to the point of how well those teams matched up. There's just not a lot of that caliber team in Atlantic Canada. So
Yeah.
these guys can't have friendlies. Like the closest thing would be as if there was university teams training, like for preseason. Like maybe you could get games against those type of guys. We've got teams that come in from Moncton, which is about a 2.5 hour drive, but again, they're not quite to like that level. So they really do have to travel or bring in like the Wrexhams or the other teams, West Ham, whoever, to have these games. Otherwise, they can't get to the high enough standard that these players can see enough time to make the leap. And it's a big disadvantage for us in Atlantic Canada. Like the teams in Ontario, there's a ton of teams that would be similar
Yeah.
or better than like
Yeah.
both those squads.
Yeah.
And you just because of the volume of players, like they can have those games every week, but our guys can't get that. So it really is a huge opportunity for them to play up, be seen by coaches and scouts in other leagues potentially, and just get like really high quality minutes, which is really what they want out of that under 21 program.
Yeah, so just a few more notes from the game. I'm going to go ahead and leave that. And I do want to talk a little bit about more opportunities and what that looks like maybe between these two clubs going forward. I have some ideas, but
Okay, I like
again, just ideas, and it's just my ideas. So they haven't gone too far. But hey, we got a podcast. Let's talk about them, right? Um,
absolutely.
but just going over some of the simple goals. I think it was Mickey Riley for the Hearts of Pine scored early. rolled one into the left-hand side. And then I think we ended up tying it up. I think it was in the second half, if memory serves me correctly, from Halifax. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty early. Tavio, around, I think it was around the 50th. Just a
Okay.
long ball, 50-55, long ball through from the direct from Jefferson at center back.
Yep.
I don't know what happened to your defenders. He must have made a great run, and I think that's like a lot of his special sauce is one, his finishing, but just like being able to wriggle free and find that space. So it
Hmm.
was, you guys had 4-against-1. There was an interesting one when you look up and all of a sudden he's on a breakaway. So
Yeah. Yeah. No,
yeah,
it happens. It definitely happens. That's soccer, right? And
yeah,
he made a great shot and put it in the back of the net on us, and we're all square, 1-1. And then, we mentioned, as always, previously, I should say, that the hour mark came, a large turnover in personnel. And then, the Heart starters had about 25, 30 minutes to kind of get some heat in those legs before we go and play the Richmond Kickers here Saturday night. And I think it was certainly a noticeable change, of course, on the field once that hour mark hit, and we had all of our starting players. And I think, with an exception of Nathan Messer, as previously mentioned, I think he was the only one that wasn't on the pitch.
mm,
Um, and things certainly started to heat up a little bit, and that competitiveness certainly started creating an edge on the field. And I was basically on the near side of the pitch, closest to like where the cameras would be, if you will, if you're watching it on
mm.
TV. Um, and I could hear some of the back and forth out there, and yeah, I can certainly confirm it was getting heated out there.
Okay.
Um, and so I could hear it before people could actually start seeing it. And then, of course, like anything else, it starts to escalate. Then people started seeing it. Then there's some dust ups, and there was some pushing, and then the referees coming in. Then some more yellow cards, and you
Yeah.
kind of get towards the end of it there, and you already mentioned, two yellows and sending off. You guys are down to 9 men.
Yeah, I guess lost in that is we also had that chance to tie up the game, or to take the lead through Tavia with another breakaway, and unfortunately just slowed down a little bit, and the center back nicked it off his foot for a corner.
Mm,
So we did have that chance. We had a couple other breaks, but like what I found is your guys were really exploiting us down the wings,
yeah.
and they were getting lots of 1v1 opportunities, getting lots of balls in the box. I don't know if that's traditionally how you play or if it's like more trying to get shots at the top of the box, but it looked like a very diverse attack. It was both sides. Really, your center midfielders were controlling that game in the last 20 minutes. It felt like, and yeah, just kind of running over some tired legs for sure. And then Aiden's red card was probably just bitterness, and it looked like
Yeah.
straight descent to the ref. So
Yeah.
I couldn't really tell what he said, but I'm sure it was tasty to see a ref in the front go straight to the back pocket. So
Yeah, our midfielder, our number 8 is Michel Poon-Angeron. He's a Trinidad and
yeah,
Tobago international, so
yeah,
he's got some caps with his national team. Patrick Langlois wears number 6, and he is also he's not an international, but he's certainly a veteran of USL League One and has been one of the better number 6s in the last couple of years in this league, and when we are lucky enough to have him on the pitch. Big big Australian that
okay,
that loves to throw some steel around. That's Patrick Langlois. And Mikey Lopez, number 5. He's our captain. And he's got some minutes in MLS. He got drafted the MLS draft, and he got drafted into Kansas City.
mm,
And then he spent some time with New York, New the city team. He had a little bit of time over there, and then he spent probably about 5 or 6 years in USL Championship with down in Alabama. And
okay,
from there, he had a bad injury, tore his Achilles, had to have a couple surgeries on it, and he's akin with Bobby Murphy. They go back down in Texas where
okay,
Bobby had him when he was really young, like in the academy, like 10, 12 years old type deal. and they had a real tight bond. And it was one of those things where he's like, "Hey, I'm starting up a whole new thing from scratch, and I could really use you. And you interested?" And he's like, "Yep, sure am."
Those coaches love to have a comfort blanket, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah,
They do.
yeah.
And in my opinion, that certainly is Mikey Lopez. Very comfortable with him. Knows exactly what he's going to do for him out there on the pitch. And I think that's, of course, he's got the skill too. There's no
Mm.
doubt about that. I talked with Mikey once before at a few post-match interviews, and he was talking to the nature of his injury and the time frame that it takes to heal from such a thing. And I was talking to him in the month of July, some probably 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I was mentioning that he's run about 4 or 5 at the time, about 4 or 5 matches together, 90 minutes fit, running all the way through.
Mm.
And I was noticing that his gameplay was just beginning to get a little sharper. And he said, "Yeah," he goes, "I'm starting to feel a lot better." And I talked to a lot of people that had my injury, and he threw out a number in months, like some 18 months from the time that it was injured or whatever is really when you
Oh,
start feeling your best. And he mentioned that like that's like just another month or two in front of me. And he goes, "I'm not quite 100%, but I'm really close." So that would be a perfect runway into the playoffs to have a up on plane Mikey Lopez in the middle of the pitch. So that's something for the Hearts to certainly look forward to.
so you're saying we shouldn't try and capture him in the transfer market right now? Is that what you're saying?
That's correct. That's correct.
Yeah. Okay. Just making sure.
But the left winger that you was interested in, where's number 10? That's England's Ollie Wright.
Yes. Yes.
So
I heard his name a lot from the commentator, who I thought did a great
yeah,
job on
yeah.
the show. So yeah.
Like Bobby says, he's got two good. He's got two good feet, and he certainly like any player. You've got your good nights, you got your bad nights, but man, when he's on, it is tough defending Ollie Wright when he is on. He's got everything in his locker, whether it's leaning back and curling one into the far post, or attacking and getting on the backside of a defense and picking one out of the air. I mean, he's got everything. He really does. And certainly a jovial player and plays for the crowd and his becoming a trademark celebration golf swing. He, uh,
Okay.
he
All
he
right.
likes he likes to do his golfing on the side in his free time and stuff. So yeah, he kind of put the nail in the coffin there at the end of it at the
Right.
right at the
It's
death, and a
brilliant strike. Yeah.
beautiful volley strike. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and of those, especially in front of goal with a massive humanity in front of you, you see those just get knocked down, right? Deflect and move out of the way. But no, if it found it all the way into the back of the net, and when it comes off like that, yeah, those strikes usually look beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. It was amazing. I mean, it's well done. Like our didn't think our keeper took a great line. I was kind of saying today that instead of going through the mass of people for the cross that led up to that, he tried to go around it and unfortunately never got close to it. Just learning, like he's a young keeper. I think he's only 1 year out of university. So still lots of stuff to do. A brilliant shot stopper, and I could even see yesterday that his distribution has gotten significantly better over the last year. So one to keep an eye on for the future. We'll see if he sticks around with the club next year.
Yeah, so for us, and just a little bit of background on kind of what we do as a supporters group and that sort of stuff. We hand out a man of the match award for that's voted on by the supporters group
Hmm.
at every home match, and we vote on it on every match.
Okay.
But obviously, we're not there to give them anything, right?
Hmm.
Because they're away. But we do go through the process and we do vote on it, right? But at home matches, so we give them a man of the match award, and what it is, it's a carved wooden lobster buoy, right?
Oh,
So
nice.
and it's this this green and blue horizontal stripes, if you will, like you see behind me,
Yep.
and it's Derigo Union Man of the Match, and last night Maine's own Khalid Hersey. Um, uh, earned that Dargo Union Man of the Match buoy, that wooden buoy. And he was one of the individuals that I was kind of speaking to prior to, where he has had a very difficult time trying to make it into the squad.
Hmm.
And when he came onto the team, he was coming up because of he earned his way onto the team through one of the tryouts, Maine's tryouts, where it's basically Maine athletes only that can come and try out for the team. And it's one of those super long shot type deals
Right.
where it's like I'm probably not going to be picking anyone out of this, but I'm here to survey, and if anyone really knocks my socks off, then yeah, I'll sign you to a contract. And Hersey was exactly that guy to
Oh, wonderful.
Coach Bobby
That's that,
Murphy.
that's great. He must
Uh,
he'll be excited when the documentary gets rolled out.
right, right,
Yeah.
exactly. So he um, he liked Khalid because he was always busy, always moving, always looking, always watching where he needs to be. And he plays that number 6, number 8 in a midfield where he is defensively minded, but he certainly likes to get in there, get a hold of the ball, and start distributing it up the left hand side, up on the wings, and we saw that in the match. He ended up intercepting a ball and running across the pitch and wrapped his foot around it and made a beautiful pass in front of a Nathan Messer that ran onto that, and there was an attacking ball down the left hand side, and he made 2 or 3 of those types of passes. Different areas of the pitch, different passes going forward, but very similar in style. And he was doing well in the middle of the pitch in the first half of that match, and certainly the Darabella Union saw that and voted him man of the match. It was a close one between him and Mickey Riley,
Hmm.
but Khalid Hersey did have those extra 2 or 3 votes that he needed for a man of the match. So I certainly just wanted to pass that along of something the SG likes to do to recognize the players, and they'll usually have a couple of supporters come down and present it to the players at the end of the match, take pictures and all that sort of stuff with them, and then those supporters will nominate another 2 supporters, and the tradition continues, match in match, match in and match out, and passing along that wooden buoy. So just wanted
It's
to
it's
share.
an amazing tradition. Our privateers and fans group have a similar, but they only do it for the end of the year, and they do it like at the end of the year awards night. But it'd be interesting to see if there's something that they want to do there on a more regular basis, because I really like the sounds of that. It's great immediate recognition for the players, and
Yeah.
it's not always the same players as what the TV commentators are picking out for
No.
the all-state man of the match or whatever it happens to be for that game.
And it helps that natural tie that you're trying to keep strong between the players and the supporter group, right?
Yeah.
Because that's really one of the 2 major ties is one of them is the supporter group and the player, right? That's one of the strong ties you need to have in a club, in my opinion,
Hmm.
and that keeps that one tie strong.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. It just if you know what I do find is like when a lot of the fans get to meet the players one on one, even if it's just a quick meet and greet, picture sign, signing session, the
yeah,
buy-in is just so much higher. And like especially if you're getting the one-off fans that they're like come to one game, they get something signed, and it's the kids, and they're like, I really want to come back, mom and dad,
yeah,
and like that's how you build that up over time. Especially you got a guy like Mickey or players that are going to be there for a few years. Like they might be on that part of their career where I'm settling. Portland's a great city. I'm going to stay here and play as long as you guys will have me, and I'll be like the face of the franchise. But for having that connection and building up that fan group, that's an amazing opportunity.
yeah. It certainly is. And anything else further about the match, Dave? Before we move on.
No, well, one thing I do want to say, your fans were amazing. It was the first thing I noticed. I was about 15 minutes late um, turning on the the YouTube or
Yeah.
and I was like saw your Union bouncing like right away, and I'm like, oh man, like these guys and our fan we have a couple different fan clubs, and they would get on like a house on fire. Just it was great to see them bouncing. It was great. Like I was shocked that it was that full for a friendly. I
Yeah.
guess I shouldn't be. Portland's a city, like it's a soccer town, from
Yeah.
what I've seen, and you guys would come out to support that. And it's also a great like little revenue piece for the club as well to add into that. I don't know what the tickets were costing for the game, but it's just like another date on the calendar, and it's also a chance for people that may not get to go all the time.
Yeah.
They get to go to that one off, see what it's
Yeah.
about.
Yeah, just to give you a sneak peek into some of the ticket prices, of course they vary. It depends on what seat you want to talk about, right? But supporters section, I think is like $11, I think, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Oh
So
wow.
11 US dollars
Okay.
for a supporters section. And then as you move into different areas and like you get like reserve seating and stuff like that, a reserve seat might be closer to 18 US dollars or something because that is your particular seat where the
Mhm.
supporters group is like, well, that's your area. Just go find a place to sit and you're good to go, right?
Yeah.
General admission, same thing, right? It's like, well, that's your area. Just go find a place and sit down. So
Mm.
you got to pay a little bit more when it's like, no, this N1 right here, that's your seat, right? And then you get into some of the seat backs where they actually, because we're all basically sitting on aluminum bleachers, right?
Hmm.
And then you have actual seat backs where you've got a something to rest on your back, and you're gonna pay a little bit more for that, and so on and so forth. But just to kind of give you a flavor of what the going into ticket prices are for the inaugural season for Hearts of Pine, that's pretty much what your season ticket holders are going to be paying. Now you start talking about secondary markets and we're going to get into that. That's who knows what you're going to pay, right? So,
Right. I did see one comment at the side of the YouTube that was like someone had bought a resale at $75. I'm like, whoa, it's it seems heavy. And I was like, I'm assuming he's talking about this game, but I wasn't 100% sure. Like, I had no idea what the ticket prices are. Like, you can't. The cheapest ticket at the Wanderers ground, I think there's like a kids ticket at 15,
yeah,
but it's like that. So if you don't mind, like I can just tell you, like so the
yeah,
reason I
yeah, yeah.
liked your stadium is like that was like our stadium year one, a little
Right.
bit smaller in size, but it's like you've got the metal stands. This is me like looking at YouTube showing you the metal stands
Talking with the hands. I'm all for
that
talking with a
that's
hand. You are talking to the right guy.
let me draw the corner where the metal bleachers are. And those tickets can range in the center of the main metal bleacher about $45, all the way down to like about 25 now in the supporters end zone, which we call the kitchen. And that is where I don't want to besmirch anyone, but the hooligans go.
Yep.
And hooligans can be of any age, and they may or may not be drinking. And both sexes are well represented, and it's a rowdy group
Gotcha.
down there. And then we've got some like you guys have the tents on either end. Love that. We have shipping containers that we have retrofitted into premium suites. So those again, like then you're into like a significantly more ticket prices. But the amazing thing about the Wanderers, and now that they've got this 7 years going, like now in year 8, um, they've got like most of those are sold out every game. So you have like season premium seats. There's not many you can buy for a game day, which is just an amazing place to be in. And to our discussion before, like we're trying to get a permanent stadium in the city, but it's city-owned land, so there's lots of politics and who wants to
Yeah.
pay for that and all that side. But just seeing where your stadium was and where it could probably go, I'm like, oh, that'd be a clear path for them to do that. Although things tend to happen faster in the U.S. But
Yeah, and going forward into the future years, I mean, when the Hearts of Pine signed a lease with the city, I mean that Fitzpatrick Stadium is a community stadium, right? So like high school football teams play their games there for the city of Portland. Lacrosse, track. There's a track that goes on the edge of the field. So that's like a I'm not great on all the lingo on track, but it's like a certified track which means something about state, like you can get on an official state record on that track or something along those lines, right? Um,
So that's where you're going to set your records. Is that what you're telling me?
yeah. so so basically, what going forward, when we signed the lease, it was kind of like the Hearts knew they were either going to have to, because the narrowness of the pitch, because of that track.
Hmm.
Um, the Hearts have a waiver from the league, um, but that waiver is only good for so many years, right?
Right.
So basically, they have a choice. It's kind of like a fork in the road, right? Do we do something with the city where we negotiate something and maybe help build, or I don't know, whatever that looks like going forward, and moving that track elsewhere, which could
Hmm.
be a big undertaking, right? Or um, the Hearts go elsewhere and get their own stadium elsewhere, and that's also a possibility as well. As of recent, it sounds like the club um, has got plans for Fitzpatrick Stadium, which sounds like that's probably some good conversations happening behind the scenes. So that's nice to hear.
And
Uh,
Sean, where is that stadium compared to like downtown, or like is it like suburban? Like just give me a
oh,
bit on
it's
the
it's
layout,
it's
like where
it's
you're at.
it's definitely right in the downtown area.
Okay,
So
so you can walk from the bars to the stadium, no
yeah,
problem.
yeah, yeah. So it's not down by like the waterfront where all the boats pull in and all that sort of stuff, but it's just down the hill. If you're familiar with the city at all, um,
What I
the
remember, there's
yeah.
definitely water.
So
Yeah.
if you remember, this big brick looking hospital sits at the very top of the hill,
Okay.
and then down the hill is where Fitzpatrick Stadium sits, right by 295. That's right where like 295 is right on. Like if you're watching the actual match, you had probably seen cars every once in a while in the background.
Okay. Yeah.
That's 295.
Okay. Right.
So when I say it's by 295, I mean it is right by
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
295.
Oh man. Okay.
Um, so yeah, no, I mean it's good news going forward. The Hearts have always been looking for the best interest of all involved when it comes to their decisions. They went into this Fitzpatrick Stadium in year number one and put in over $2.5 million of privately funded money. Did not
Mm,
cost the city a single thing. And put in a brand new field, put in brand new lights. The press box all got basically redone, almost like a brand new press box. They dumped a lot of money into Fitzpatrick Stadium, and it didn't cost the
mm,
taxpayer a dime. Um,
amazing.
so certainly good stewards, if you will, of Fitzpatrick Stadium. So certainly want to make sure that picture is well painted.
Yeah. Well, and I think again, it's I'm sure your owners and Derek will get on well as well, because Derek had built that stadium. Like basically, the very short backstory is Derek was bringing an international rugby game there back in 2017, and it was a team coming in from Glasgow to play against a Canadian team, and they got there, saw the state of the field, and like they'd already put up the stands for the game, which weren't there, and said we're not playing. Like this is dangerous for our players. So in 24 hours, Derek and his team at Sports Entertainment Atlantic had managed to take apart the stadium, set it up at a new field out at another location about a 20-minute drive away, like re-permit the whole thing, work with the city, and get everyone out there and agree to have the game. They had an amazing first time, and that was basically what led to getting the Wanderers grounds grass fixed. So like it was basically a dog walking park, if you can imagine, like this beautiful space, center of town, 7-minute walk to the heart of downtown, um, beside our public gardens, which is this beautiful um, area, cemetery, hospital, horse
Yep.
stables, all there. And it was a ramshackle mud pit where they'd occasionally have games. And
Yeah.
so the city was basically embarrassed into making the stadium, like, or making the grass. But Derek built the stadium on site with that's all his money, private money, using shipping containers, using stands, porta potties, like all the great things that you get with a temporary stadium.
Yeah,
And then for the 7+ years, like they've then added to it every single year. So
that's
it's
awesome.
just amazing. I said we must be in year 7. I got to my math is it's getting fuzzy. I got to it must have been a 2019 start. That must be right. May 4th, 2019 was the first game at Wanderers grounds. But like he built that, and then over time they've built like a giant deck on top of the shipping containers, and then they've added layers of shipping containers on top of the shipping containers to build more premium experience, more media areas, and more high ticket price areas. And like fans love it. They're just ready for a real stadium, and they'd shown plans to basically build say a Lego block stadium, but essentially you ship in the stadium from Italy, I think,
Mm-hmm.
and they basically piece it together. And so we're just replacing the metal stands. Right now, we're just working with the city to try and get them to understand the financial ramifications of what the Wanderers, there's a female team in the newly launched Canadian Northern Soccer League, Northern Women's Soccer League. So the Tides that are drawing around 4,000 a game, so they're doing really well fan wise in year 1. And then there's all these other special events, and it would be turfed. Because due to the volume of the games, right now it's natural grass, one of only 2 natural grass fields in the league, us in Calgary. Players love coming to play here. It's just a beautiful, beautiful field. But then we need to basically like redo all the water and the sewer and like do all those kind of things because they would like to have 8,500 to 10,000 seats for the football, for the soccer, and then also be able to turn it over to the city for concerts and those kind of things. And then you can get up to 10, 12,000 people, and you're into a nice mid-range for other events. And then it gets rented out to like all the soccer players that are having to play at 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night because there's no field time.
That's
So
crazy.
a lot of work that can be done by the city. I'm hoping that like they'll understand that the investment's going to be worth it, and that local amateur players in all sports will be able to use that all the time.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes to it, right? And a lot of that happens in talking with the city and getting into those town halls and kind of pitching in everything to all the taxpayers and the voters and the governors and the mayors and all that fun stuff. And I say fun in air quotes, of course, right? But yeah, the Hearts certainly had their fair share of those types of meetings. Again, a community stadium, a professional team coming into a community stadium, kind of raised the hackles on quite a few people in Portland, and going, yeah, here they go. They're going to come in and take over the whole thing, and where are we going to play our high school sports, and what are we going to do, and that very very slowly, and even still today in some cases still everyone's kind of like, you still got to prove it to me. Even though they've done everything that they've done so far, trying to keep everyone in perspective and everyone's thoughts in mind when they're making these business decisions and privately funding and all that sort of stuff. Everyone's like, I don't know. Most everyone at this point are like, no, this is a good deal. Like
Mm.
open your eyes. Like this is a good deal, but such is the walks of life. Everyone's a little bit more skeptical than the next, and all that fun stuff. But no, I think certainly the Hearts of Pine have been good stewards of the space, and they continue to keep everyone in mind with their decisions going forward. So if they are having conversations of basically Fitzpatrick Stadium might be a home for them going forward. Believe me, it's with everybody in mind using the space and making sure that everyone has got time for Fitzpatrick Stadium. Um,
Beautiful.
so moving on, I want to get into a little bit of my ideas for maybe some future games, both with the Halifax Wanderers and maybe some other teams up there north of the border. So Next year, USL League One is going to have some 21 teams in USL League One. So we are going to have 20 home matches next year at Fitzpatrick Stadium. Um, the schedule is full, and certainly being up in the northern side of the country, we share very similar weather. So March and April probably not the best of times to be going out and trying to play in a little soccer, right? So the natural preseason that at least for USL League One, probably not the best time. So what I was thinking was, we've got this thing called a Jägermeister Cup down here, where we are basically regionalized in little small groups, right? For example, the group that the Hearts of Pine played in had like of ourselves, of course, Rhode Island FC, Hartford, Connecticut, Pittsburgh Riverhounds, and we did have Detroit, which is a little bit of a one-off, regionalized, but they're not too far away. So they kind of came in and they were like a but we just adopted them into the New England side of things for a little bit. It's like, come on in, you can be a New Englander with us, and
Right. They'll allow that in soccer. They definitely won't allow that in football. Yeah.
and so they came in Pittsburgh too, really for that matter, and so they came over, and we just kind of played that group. It was like a group style, right? And then the winner of the group, and then a wild card for the overall deal moved on. Then you get into your knockouts and all that sort of stuff. So next year we are going to have just in USL League One alone 7 more additional teams.
Wow.
So we're going to be 21 in USL League One, and I think they're going to be somewhere close to the high 20s, maybe even pressing 30 in the championship next year. So we're like really close to like 50 teams. So what I'm saying is, it's just an idea, is we say, hey, Canadian Premier League, how about it? You want to do a little Jägermeister Cup action with us? I'm going to keep the travel down for you. We don't want you to be traveling all over the USA. We're not looking at racking up miles on you and trying to add additional cost to your season. There will be some additional cost, but we also understand that you guys are going east and west up there in Canada and your regular season. You got more than enough cost already as it is. We'll take a couple of your teams. We'll match them up with our groups on our northern regions. So you're really just going to the northern side of the United States. And yeah, if you move on in the Jägermeister Cup, you will have to absorb some of that travel wherever it may be. But at least on the front end of things, you don't have much further to go than you normally would in your leagues. And I think that would be something worth poking at for maybe USL and Canadian Premier League.
And when do you envision that? What time of year is that happening?
So basically, the group stage for the Jägermeister Cup that we had this year, basically that kicked off. I'm going to go from memory, which is always dangerous. But I think we had our first group match about somewhere at the beginning of June. I think it was somewhere in that neighborhood. So it'd be like the June, July time frame. It would be like where you'd have your first few games.
And are you thinking it's like, I think a concept like that would definitely work with the type of team that we put out yesterday, where it's a mixture of senior players coming back, young players coming up. Something like that would be very interesting. These guys, so the team would travel like our season, so you're aware. So basically, most players report back to camp March 1st.
Yeah.
They have 4 weeks of training. Usually they head off somewhere. So this year they went to the UK and played 3 games over there. They're starting to build some really great relationships with some clubs over there who offered training facilities and then had set up the matches for them. So that's kind of like their preseason. And then they usually get like one exhibition against a CPL team when they get back, where they set up some against the locals. But then April, when did they kick off? April 15th-ish, we kicked off. And we're not allowed on our grass until May. So that's like a problem for us. I think they gave them dispensation. I think we started on the 29th of April. with our first home game, because we would go on the road for 4 games and it was miserable because we wouldn't see the team. And, you start off with road losses at the beginning of the year and you're trying to catch up all year long. So a
Yeah.
concept like that throughout would be super interesting, right? And then maybe you tie in things like a Wrexham or one of those other teams coming over to like pepper in exhibition games like throughout that time period, and you start to build out. Again, to my point of what the club would have wanted out of that game last night, they want those under 21s to play meaningful games that are hard for them, that hopefully they win, but like that's not really the main point. And you want those rehab guys to get the minutes and be ready to go. So from that perspective, I think that would be a really interesting opportunity. You've already got Jägermeister as a sponsor, so then we just get Portland Tourism on board and figure out who the sponsors are going to be to cover off some of these costs for travel. And we do have a great partner for the league, which is WestJet, and so they get them all the places that they need to be in Canada. I'm sure there's some flights that will be available to the U.S. for them.
Absolutely. And I can hear everyone screaming into my headphones, Sean, we're not doing group stage next year. Next year, the Jägermeister Cup, we're doing knockouts. It's like, okay, well, it still applies. You just match them up and then they do knockouts. And you take the groups and you throw them out the window and say, okay, here's your first knockout match. You're playing some northern team. And
so I'll tell you what will always be the biggest barrier to any of this, like money aside, like so say the teams all wanted to do it. It would be Canada Soccer and U.S. Soccer signing off on the waivers for the teams to play each other.
Yeah.
Guarantee that would be the issue.
Such it is. Yeah, you're 100% correct. That is exactly what would be the big holdup. Everyone would be going, yeah, we want to do it. Yeah, we want to do it. And then you're looking up at the association going, please sign it.
Yeah, let us. We also, I mean, like, I don't know if you guys have indoor facilities, but one way you could spin that too is setting up shop at an indoor facility where they can go play, right?
Yeah.
Like that's another good opportunity. I think we've done Florida 1 year. I hope I'm not getting my years mixed. I just, it's been so many years now of watching these guys. But like we've done Florida in the past. They've gone to like the islands, Trinidad or one of those type of places and set up at a resort. Everyone had their own training and then they had exhibition games versus each other. So like, I think those opportunities are probably the easy pickings that you could get to. And then doing something formal would be the one where we'd have to work pretty hard to convince the people to do that one.
Yeah, like I said, just kind of coming up with some ideas. I thought it'd be something worth digging at. Hopefully, maybe somewhere, they've already got a plan in place and they're going to let us know at the end of this year when they start talking about schedules for the following year for USL. And I would like to one of these years see something lined up like that here and compete in an actual knockout competition against some teams from the CPL. I think that'd be a great touch for USL. I really do. But just going a little bit more into the Halifax Wanderers. We mentioned we wanted to kind of learn a little bit more about the club and a little bit about the CPL. Can you shine a little light a little bit on the club and the league here for us Mainers down here in USL League One?
Yeah, certainly. So as I said, I think I really got to check this. We're in year 7. I'm sure we're in year 7. I just got back on one thing we'll go back to is like how dominant a team that Hamilton Forge have been in this league over the years. They're the ones that are usually in the CONCACAF Champions League as representatives of the CPL. They have a dominant team. They've had a great core of players there for a long time. We are all across the country. So we've got Vancouver, FC, and Pacific out on the West Coast. We've got Halifax on the East Coast. And then you are covered off with 3 clubs in Ontario, York, Hamilton, Ottawa. Some tasty rivalries starting there. And then Calgary. We had a team in Edmonton that started the league when we were 7 to start. They folded after year 4. Vancouver came in, and we're sitting nicely at the 8 teams now. There's been a lot of talk about expansion in the league in areas. What we like to do is their first call is like, we really don't want to be competing against an MLS team. Right. Or like a summer pro sports team. So like we're not going downtown Toronto or downtown Montreal, but we will look at places like Laval, Quebec, where they've got a great soccer culture, Kelowna, BC, Saskatoon, we've looked at other places in Atlantic Canada, but generally it's like they want to hit cities that have 400,000 people or above.
Yeah.
Without a major competitor in the summer. And there is actually shockingly a lot of them. There's several more in Ontario we could go into, and like Kitchener-Waterloo, Windsor, and I think just with a lot of stuff that's happening in politics in our shared world these days, some people have got a little bit cold feet with anything close to the border, as far as like fans that might be coming over to Windsor games, like those kind of things. So I don't know where those things stand at the moment.
Yeah.
But their original stated goal was to get to 16 teams by 2026, which was back in 2018. We have obviously not got there, but they've also brought in way more stringent rules to protect the teams that are already in the league and the new owners coming in. It's like we're not going to play in a stadium with football lines on it. So that was one of the things that jumped out to me right away. And you saw with both goalkeepers last night, actually, it was kind of funny. I'm like, oh man, that's what they're talking about. Like, we want it to be a great thing for television. So you've had very stable markets. Most teams are now with very good ownerships. I don't say with deep pockets, but like they're running these clubs very efficiently. They have a salary cap per team of about $1.3 million. And you'll see that spread over 23 players in a roster. I don't know if they still include coaching in that number, but it's somewhere in the regulations. So people always ask like how much these guys make. It's a huge range. There's probably some top guys making around $100,000 a year, ballpark. And then I'm sure they would do like other coaching or things on the side for the club at like special events where they can make more money on top of that. And I would say like probably the bulk are like 40 to 60,000. And then you have like any of our new kids, like that come out of school would just be on like essentially stipends and would cover their food and lodging and those type of things. So the reason that the league came up, it was twofold. Number one is like there hadn't been a pro league in Canada in years. The last one folded quite abysmally in the 90s, and they knew with the World Cup coming up in 26 that if we did not have a pro league in Canada, we would not be part of that World Cup.
Yeah.
So as they got going, it's like we need a venue for young Canadian players to aspire to, because if you're good enough, you can probably go overseas. If you're the top of the top locally, you could go to like an MLS academy, which is where like you guys see and we see a lot of our players that came out of MLS academy but didn't quite make that next jump. So that is really what the league is supposed to be focusing on. That's why we have those under 21 minimum minutes of 2,000. There's some clubs that are over 4,000 minutes for under 21 Canadians, which is unbelievable. It's so good. And then sometimes the last couple of years we've struggled to get to our 2,000. We get there, but it's like the second last game, and you could lose a playoff spot if you don't have your minutes. So if a guy gets injured and you're only carrying like 321s that are contributing, it just can make for a tough year. So those are some of the reasons that the league was started. It's a lot of travel. It's like the third longest travel is Halifax to Vancouver Island in the world for a game, right? Like it's like Russia, Australia to New Zealand, and then this travel, which is essentially like it's like 9 hours of flight, right, to get there. And then explains why we don't win, but then Vancouver just came here and beat us on Monday, so also doesn't explain that.
Well, those facts get in the way.
and really, we want those young players coming through, and we've started to get some sales from the league now. So this is really important because, like, as you ramp this up, I would say like it wouldn't be a stretch to say a lot of the club budgets would be like in the $4 million revenue and expenses for the year. So Calgary has sold players into the UK. Vancouver sold a player into MLS. I think the highest purchase has been around, I want to say it was like 550,000 Canadian dollars. So again, like these are not crazy numbers, as anyone that follows any world soccer knows, but that can like take a team for a whole year and put them in the plus, right? So Halifax wants to be getting to that level. We haven't had any success in selling out players yet. We've sold on a couple, but they never really talk about those smaller fees. So I'm sure it wasn't a bag of balls and a dozen Keith's beer. They made some money on it, and that's really where the league wants to go. They want to expand. So over the last 2 years, like the Portland thing is amazing because it reminds me of their new series they've run. So we've hosted games in neutral sites, but they're actual league games. So Calgary played against Vancouver in Kelowna last year. drew 5,000 fans for like a one-off game. We played against York in Laval, Quebec this year. I don't remember what the final numbers were, but I think it was touching 5,000. And it was a crap day, pouring rain, and we'd sent a busload of fans up, and it was amazing. They had really good turnouts. A lot of our players are actually from Quebec and from Ontario, so a lot of the families and friends were coming in for those type of matches. So that's where they're trying to go with the league. I think all the fans would have liked to see more expansion faster. Right. There's been some talks about like what it actually costs, and it's just a little bit secretive compared to like the USL stuff. I find you can find all those numbers quite easily if you want to, whereas our stuff seems to be a little bit in the shadows, like how much it actually costs. Like I've heard ballparks of like $8 million for a franchise, but knowing that you have to have a stadium ready to go, you want to start about a year out. So like really we should be seeing announcements if there was teams launching for next year. Like that should be now, as they start their season ticket drives. So that would lead me to think that we're unlikely to have new teams next year, but hopefully that they'll launch them in the year after.
Yeah, to your point, we already know for next year, we're going to have, 6 other additional teams, and more than likely a 7th additional team, which will bring us up to that 21 that I spoke to. But yeah, we already know exactly where they are, where they're playing, all that sort of stuff. Time now, and our season starts probably about I think it's about mid-March. Mid-March is when our USL League One season starts, and to much like what you were talking about before, us northern teams, we start on the road, and that's just the nature of being a northern team. You're going to start a little bit later, and when you do start, you're going to be on the road. And then by the time you finally get back to your home match, you probably have played about 4 or 5 matches or somewhere in that neighborhood, and you finally get to come back and play in front of your home crowd. So
and the weather still sucks by then. So.
I think our home opener was like May 4th. That was when our home opener was, right? So give you a little bit of a taste of kind of how it is being a northern team.
And we play, so the CPL teams play 28 games a year. So four each against each team, home and away. 2 each home and away. And the crowds, I would say, are ranged. Like, so our stadium now can hold up to 7,500. So we've hit 7,000. I think they were over 7 for the Wrexham, actually for the Wrexham exhibition game, which is amazing. I don't know if people thought Ryan Reynolds was showing up for the game, but he didn't show up. There was a hot rumor that he was in Halifax 2 weeks before. Never saw that actually confirmed anywhere. We'd love to have them show up.
Sure.
But some of the teams play out of CFL stadiums. And so they have room for a bazillion, but it also hurts the atmosphere. And that's why when I was pointing at your atmosphere, I'm like, that atmosphere with your atmosphere, we're right on top of the field. There's some great happy hours nearby. Like it really ramps up. So if you get like an evening game, it's just awesome. And they're playing under the lights, and it just really draws the community together. All the clubs spend a lot of time, like Portland does, focusing on community and like building great community bonds, giving away lots of tickets, raising a ton of money through 50/50s and other things. Like they had I don't know if you know the Paw Patrol cartoon.
Yes.
They had Paw Patrol jerseys with a sponsorship with Nickelodeon from the last match that they were auctioning off for the local SPCA after the game. And anyway, there's some comments after our performance about what people were willing to pay for those and what they were going to use them for, and there might have been a dumpster fire. But anyway, it's a great league. And then so you got people that have up to like 20,000 seats if they wanted to, and then you've got like Pacific, Vancouver. They're more built for soccer, so you're basically like 6,000 capacities. The biggest one we've ever had, I think there was a final in Hamilton that drew 14,000, and Ottawa had a game that was like 14,000 people, but generally Halifax would have the highest average attendance on the year, and then you'd be looking at Ottawa and Halifax, or Ottawa and Forge just behind us at like in the high 5s.
Yeah, and just because you have a large stadium doesn't necessarily mean it's a good thing for a soccer match in the atmosphere. There are certainly even MLS clubs, some really close to the Portland area, that have large stadiums, and It's got a lot of echoes and cavernous spaces that are empty, and it doesn't make for great atmosphere when it comes to these
No.
soccer matches, right? And certainly with the thoughts and ideas of what the Hearts are going to be doing in the years to come, the thought process from the supporters group and the fans and stuff like that has always been, hey, sneak up on it, right? So we got 5,500 seating capacity currently. There's no doubt in my mind we could definitely fill an 8,000 seated capacity stadium. We got 2,000 people on the wait list for season tickets as we speak. Um,
Amazing.
so so
Well, and hopefully you count all the people that drive by in their cars in your viewership numbers during the match, right?
yeah,
You want to get
yeah, that one counts, and that one counts, and that one
yeah,
counts. Right, right.
1,006,
Yeah,
1,008.
yeah. But certainly don't want to go from like something 5,500 to like something like RIFC has, down in Rhode Island of some 12,500.
Mm.
Let's sneak
It's
up
hard to
on
go.
that. Sneak up on that one a little bit,
Right,
right?
you need to future-proof those stadiums so you can build out, and you
Right,
have that planned out.
right.
One other thing that I do want to like just say, like I've been watching your club since it was founded, and just like online and the marketing, the brand. I'm just like, man, like these guys put a lot of time
Mm,
behind it. As someone just watched a few kind of flame out and not be great,
yeah,
and then ones that I think like the Wanderers, like Forge, that just like they mean something now.
yeah,
Like Ottawa's doing in their area, like kudos to the club for and the backroom people for what they're doing, because I'm like that. You can tell it's a professional outfit,
yeah.
and I'm just like that's what you need when you're going into those new towns.
Yeah, no, credit to the ownership group. It was certainly a slow build, slower than I think they would like to have had. But from that, comes a well thought out brand and a well thought out vision, and we're reaping the rewards currently right now for exactly that, right? So, yeah, maybe a little bit of frustration for an extra year or two, perhaps, and going through some of those, wickets that we were talking about a little bit earlier and stuff, and that adds on another couple of years and so on and so forth. But you do also have those couple extra years to really finalize what your vision is going to be, and maybe find maybe a slight tweak to your plans that really pays off when your first year of execution, which is what we're currently sitting in right now. So yeah, really proud of the ownership group. They really did their homework. Got a great product on the field, and it takes good people to make that happen. And they really, when they went through their process for the coaching staff and the business side of things, and even the players, when Coach Bobby Murphy came in, he wanted a certain type of player that was going to come in here and
Mm-hmm.
want to work for the team and sacrifice for the team. And if that means I have to run and run and run and run, and I'm going to get, maybe not all the touches I want to see in a match, I'm okay with that, and I'm willing to do it, and I'll do it, no problem at all. Those are the types of players that he wants, right? And he said himself that we passed up good players because they didn't fit what we wanted to do. Um,
Yeah.
and that's just something that you got to have the discipline in doing, and not just say it, but actually execute what you said you're going to do, and say, "I'm sorry, you don't fit the system that we want to run." And it may be a really really good player, but
Mm-hmm.
it just doesn't fit, and you have to be disciplined enough to say, "I'm sorry,
Yeah.
you're not gonna fit here. We're not gonna be a good match. We're gonna have to pass. Sorry." You gotta be able to do
You'll just have to go to MLS. Sorry.
that. That's right. That's right. So Dave, just kind of winding down here a little bit. I just wanted to certainly give you an opportunity to go ahead and talk a little bit about the podcasting and stuff up there, and maybe a little bit of the CPL side of things, and certainly as much as you would like to expound on a little bit about maybe the Down the Pub podcast and
Mm.
your podcast partner. Certainly want to give you the space to do exactly that.
Thanks, appreciate it. Well, I feel kind of an imposter. Like I'm new to this world of podcasting. I've been a long time admirer Love listening to everything from like Men in Blazers to anything to do with Everton Football Club, which is my Premier League club. And you can see in the background my North American Toffees, like representing. They just hosted 3 games with Everton in Atlanta, Chicago, New York over the last week and a half, and it was amazing to watch.
I promise you just gained some fans from the Derigo Union. I could probably give you some names.
All right, so I don't know if I'm assuming we've got a supporters group in Portland. I don't know, but anyway, it looked like an amazing time. So Down the Pub was the first pod that kind of came out when the Wanderers came out. So Gary Griffiths and Anthony Abbott started. Anthony's they're both UK lads. Anthony's Irish, and Gary, who are running joke on the pod these days, is he's got some form of very infectious disease because he can never show up for a podcast and hasn't yet this year. But he's like, I would say he's like the technical guru. So he would really give the background on like why the formation, what he saw happening. It was like the depth of knowledge. So since he caught dengue fever, I think was the most recent one, or maybe he caught up in the measles. We're not sure. We've kind of missed that. So Anthony has generally subbed in different people, and we've myself and Derek Simon have been the most recent converts to Anthonyism. I try to be the balanced voice of reason. Those guys just tend to pile on. It's fine. They'll listen, fine. And they'll be fine with that. So I like to balance it. I do still have great relationships at the club, and want to keep those. So certainly. Those guys started it, and Gary does a lot of writing. And if you ever chance to read his articles, his handles from a ways, and his writing is just spectacular. So he would do a beginning of the season writing, but it's like you're writing in like old English prose about these new players, and it's beautiful. It really is beautiful. I look forward to it every year, and I'm just like, what's he going to say about my favorite player, Lorenzo Caligari, our young Frenchman, or middle-aged, I guess, for soccer, Frenchman, and talk about like his sweet left foot and his deft movement and how he swivels his hips. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Some people get away with words, and it's just an absolute art. I know exactly what you're saying.
I'm just like, I'm angry. Why didn't we win the game? So those guys did amazing. I just loved listening to those guys. I'd be waiting for the pod to come out, and like if it didn't hit the next day, we'd be like messaging them on social, going like, I'm going for a walk today. Like, it's time, lads. Let's go.
Right. Like, I need my podcast, man. I need my podcast.
Gary's latest infectious disease kicked in, so we don't know if we're going to have it. So they've been doing a good job. So Anthony had me and Derek on, and we've been filling in. I think we've done 5 or 6 with him this year. We've got a good flow going on. I have no idea what the numbers are that listen to it. Not really that. It's more like my therapy session. Sure. I love talking about it. I have a long refereeing background, like 30 years of refereeing at a relatively high level. Awesome. Coaching up to college and provincial teams here in Halifax, and playing at a riding the bench level in university and like some of the leagues around here. So I bring that. Derek's got some coaching. Anthony just has Irish beard, Guinness loving guy, and he just wants to talk about it. Like, so he's very good at actually encapsulating.
That's a very important perspective to bring to a podcast.
It actually is the key. I think that's why they come in to listen. So he does a great job of capturing, because he tends to also sit in the kitchen or near there.
Yep.
Since he's been kicked out of the media box. And then I sit on the premium pitchside side, like where I've had my tickets for a while, or occasionally I'll just walk around and get different perspectives. But he really gets that, the fans that have been there for 7 years perspective. So like he's hearing that, and he can bring that, and he's like, you're like 5 meters off the field. So you're like, like 7 yards, sorry guys, off the field. So they're right there. They see it. They're talking to the goalkeeper on the other team, calling him the giant yellow banana if he's wearing his full yellows. We've got some great chants. So they've been doing that a long time, and have a lot of fun with it. And so that was number 1. We now have 2 other ones. So we've got not the Wanderers Grounds. It used to be called the Wanderers Grounds. There was trademark infringement, they said. I don't know if that's like a running joke or not. So that's guys that work for a local independent paper called The Coast that put that one up. And they've got a mixture of like some soccer background, but not like a depth of knowledge. But they just bring like we're casual fans. We love the Wanderers. We're talking about it that way. And then we have Josh Healy, who comes on and he jumps onto both pods, occasionally does more, and he has probably the best written content that's like timely version. So if people want to see Josh Healy, look up Josh Healy Wanderers. You'll see. I think it's called the Halifax Football Post online. He's the one that catches the rumors and is in with some of the players and background stuff. And then you have some national ones. So we have like the Northern Football Pod that covers the Canadian Premier League, and the league itself puts out some content as well through One Soccer. So we're getting to that point where there's like pretty good saturation on the content. Some of the pods do some, the Coast guys do player interviews. They're in there actually as media versus fans doing the pod. So lots of stuff to listen to and lots of very different, when you listen to all three and you're like, were we watching the same game? Like, I really, it's amazing that you get those perspectives, right? So
you got to have that sometimes, and that's the beautiful thing
lovely,
about podcasting.
So when Anthony caught whatever Gary had and had to bail on tonight's session, I was happy to jump in and make my international debut. So
that's right.
Call it one cap for Halifax.
There you go. You got your cap tonight. Yeah. Glad I could help out with that. So, no, you certainly gave us a nice smattering of different outlets to kind of learn a little bit about CPL and the Wanderers, and certainly appreciate that. As you know, we see a Halifax Wanderers FC on Fitzpatrick Stadium soil for the first time, and hopefully not the last time. And we'll see maybe more of each other going forward, and certainly get to kind of root around in those podcasts and different articles and writings and learn a little bit more about you guys and the league that you guys play in. And the one thing that soccer fans typically want, certainly in the leagues and in their regional areas, is more information on what's going on in and around them. And luckily we live in a day and age where that is readily available to us. It's basically we need to know what's out there, and certainly these types of podcasts and these types of interactions certainly help that and get it out to both sides, right? So again for us, or as already previously mentioned, if anyone wants to know anything about Hearts of Pine, best place to go to, other than of course, the Hearts of Pine homepage, and you're going to see your typical news and such and so forth for the heartsofpine.com is where you'll see like the rosters and the news from the club and so on and so forth. But if you want the details and match day experience and the conversations in the stands and in the pubs and in and around Fitzpatrick Stadium, Derigo Union is where you want to go on YouTube, and that's just a Derigo Union channel. And you're going to see probably about 90 to 95% of what we put out is right on YouTube. If you are more of a listener in your Spotify's and your Apple Musics and all that sort of stuff, we are also found there as well as Derigo Union. So certainly it's as simple as searching for Derigo Union on both Spotify and Apple Music and YouTube. And that's where we'll be. And we've got, like I said, we've got about 3 or 4 different podcasts out there. And I actually do a little bit of writing for the blazingmusket.com. And I will put some articles up there along with some other writers as well. But you will see my name filtered in amongst the Hearts of Pine articles. And that's another good place to catch me. So, Dave, I certainly appreciated the time. I certainly had enjoyed the conversation, and certainly cannot wait for a next matchup between Hearts of Pine and the Halifax Wanderers FC in a future Jägermeister knockout match. We're going to speak it into existence, and we're going to have a great time. Dave, thanks for your time.
Come on, you Wanderers. Come on, you Pines.